Have you ever taken a second to think about what self-confidence really is? Well, it's often misunderstood by 99% of people. Most think it's a natural trait that you're either born with or born without. But here's the secret that everyone is missing. Confidence isn't a trait, it's a skill. And just like any skill, if you don't train it or practice it regularly, you will lose it. And that's if you even had it in the first place. For those with social anxiety, this is a particularly hard skill to develop. Why? Because the fear of social interactions leads them to never practice at all. To be honest, it's a vicious cycle. They fear rejection, so they avoid situations where they might be rejected. This in turn means that they never get a chance to build their confidence. In the psychology world, therapists often use a strategy called exposure therapy to help people overcome fears gradually, because increasing exposure to the feared object or context reduces anxiety over time. Similarly, avoiding social interactions because of your fear or your anxiety actually keeps that fear and anxiety intact. This, of course, leaves the confidence muscle weak and underdeveloped. Now, consider how most people view social confidence. It's typically tied up with fear of being rejected, like we mentioned, or of offending others. This fear can be absolutely paralyzing, preventing individuals from engaging in or enjoying social activities. People worry so much about saying the wrong thing or not being liked that they either withdraw socially or force themselves to go through social interactions feeling tense and uncomfortable. Now, you might call yourself an overthinker or an overanalyzer, and you've often been led to believe that that's a bad thing or a drawback. But on the other hand, I actually see it as a superpower. Let me explain to you why. It means that you have the capacity to be hyper-emotionally intelligent. The issue is, you might be using your hyper-emotional intelligence a bit too proactively, and it might be getting in the way of some of your social interactions. In other words, you might not be using your superpower in the most effective way. But I'm here to show you how to, instead of allowing it to add to your anxiety, harnessing it to both anticipate and help control social interactions to benefit you. Now, the key is really about taking your superpower and calibrating it. And the tool to do that is called the rejection game. In this game, you are going to fundamentally flip your relationship with rejection so that it becomes the goal. You are going to each day start with something small and gradually get bigger. So day one, you might go to a store where you know a discount isn't being offered, go to the front desk, and when you're buying the thing, ask if you can have it for a 50% discount. Another example is maybe you're going to go get your coffee today, and when it's time to pay for it, you ask if you can just have this one for free. Now, of course, it's uncomfortable, and of course, you're going to get rejected, and this is the goal. The goal isn't to get a free coffee or a discount on some clothing or whatever, although that's obviously awesome if you do. The goal is to be rejected. And by doing this slowly, you are going to change your relationship with rejection itself. This process helps desensitize you to rejection, and it reveals to your anxiety that rejection isn't as crazy as it wants to make it seem. Now, my challenge to you is to do this consecutively for 66 days, because that's the amount of time that science indicates it takes to develop a real habit and begin to change the way the brain works. Like I mentioned, during this period, you are going to systematically expose yourself to the possibility of rejection. It is this process that is going to gradually desensitize you to your fear. Now again, each day you're going to engage in different activities that are going to expose you to the possibility of rejection. Now, every single time you do encounter rejection, reflect on it a little bit and understand that it's really not that big of a deal and no one really cares. Now, by the end of this period, you're going to find out that you're now accustomed to saying things that you might get rejected for. But you realize that it's not as big of a deal as you made it seem, and this realization helps you build genuine, long-lasting social confidence. You start with a few small interactions that will help you build the skill that we talked about needing to build and work on. And gradually you begin to dissociate it from the idea that rejection is a reflection on your self-worth or something. This is an incredibly practical routine, and I can't wait for you to see the results. Ultimately, the people who get the most out of life are not necessarily the smartest or the best looking. They are the people who dared to take the chances to build the skill of self-confidence. These are the individuals who truly thrive and make a massive impact in both their professional and personal lives. They leverage their new social confidence, they quash their social anxiety, and they take on new challenges with this arsenal of tools. They then go out and meet new people, push past their comfort zones, and achieve their wildest dreams. Now, thank you so much for watching. My name is Spencer with Must Become. Always remember that your potential is your obligation, and so what you can become, you must become.